Edge at 11 starts now.
Tonight on The Edge, we're tracking a rainy night across Metro Detroit. You're going for a ride right now live with the Fox 2 Weather Bees, currently in Ann Arbor. Depending on where you are, you could see some heavy downpours tonight, but nothing is expected to be severe. Good news.
And there could be a lot of rain tonight. Some communities could see about an inch of rain by tomorrow morning.
And guy who gets it right every time, Weather Authority Rich Luderman, you predicted it would be this way. Some other folks were saying it would be way heavier. You said, nope, this is what it would be.
Yeah, we're going to get about an inch of rain from tonight through tomorrow morning, and I'll show you why. It's this cold front extending from Quebec all the way down to St. Louis, and it is activated in our part of Michigan. You can see up around Traverse City, mostly dry for Alpena as well. If we zoom in, you can see there are some heavier spots of rain over Wayne County, also around Kalamazoo and Battle Creek. So we're going to be dealing with this on-again, off-again rain for the rest of tonight, about an inch in many areas. The grass, the flowers are going to be happy. It's been dry lately. We're making up for it tonight and tomorrow morning. Here's a great look at Sky Tracker. You can see some of the heavy downpours right over Wayne County. Also, some heavy downpours for Battle Creek, approaching Jackson and Lansing. But it's all moving pretty quickly. It's not going to linger in any one spot for a very long time. Here's Amherstburg on the Canadian side getting some heavy downpours. Detroit as well. Ann Arbor down along the 275-75 split in Monroe County. Some heavy downpours. Earlier today, it was breezy. It was warm. Even a bit more humid out there. 87 degrees the official high. We're down about 20 degrees right now. Here are your averages. There's your sunset tonight. Pretty late at 9:06. How about that? 65 degrees now, but the dew points are in the lower 60s, and that's why it feels rather soupy out there, and it's going to stay that way for the rest of tonight. 62 House, 62 in Lansing with wet weather. There's 60 Mount Clemens. Chilly up in Port Huron, 55 degrees. The flow is from the north and east, and that's going to keep us cool tonight and again tomorrow. But watch what happens tomorrow. That front will sag to the south of us, and that's why once we get to the lunch hour tomorrow, things are going to start to dry out. And then really Friday, Saturday are going to be dry days. Perhaps some rain showers Sunday evening. The bullseye for heavy rain is west of the city down into northern Indiana. Cloudy, occasional showers. There could even be a rumble of thunder overnight down to 62. Tomorrow's a different kind of day. Cloudy and cool with morning showers likely. And then most of Friday, Saturday, most of Sunday is going to be rain-free, of course, for the races at MIS. And the Tigers are back home for the weekend. Remember, always get the latest forecast. Check it out. The Fox 2 Weather app. You can download it for free in the App Store or in Google Play. Roop Taryn, over to you.
Perfect timing there. Thanks, Rich. Also tonight, it's a case we've been following closely. A teen with autism shot after getting lost in Detroit.
Now, for the first time, we're hearing from that young man after the case against the alleged shooter was tossed out. Here's Fox 2's Jessica Dupnack.
Claude Wusick is that 18-year-old. Earlier this year, he was homeless. Then he was shot in the back, and suddenly, out of nowhere, his dad just died. On top of all of those struggles, he has severe autism.
I told the Uber driver it wasn't my house, and they said, this is your stop, you gotta get out.
From there, 18-year-old Claude Wusick's life changed forever.
I went and called my sister up to pick me up because I didn't know where I was at.
This was in April on Detroit's east side. Claude snapped a photo of a nearby house for reference. A man who was at the home aggressively approached him.
He told me delete the picture. I did, and he told me to walk. So I was walking off and waiting for my sister to pick me up, and then he shot me.
Right in the back. At one point, doctors thought he'd be paralyzed, but he survived and is okay.
A little bit of chest pain. Mainly that's it.
47-year-old Robert Pugh was charged for the shooting, but the case was dismissed for lack of evidence. When Claude took the stand, he couldn't remember details, something his sister says is common with his severity of autism.
Claude just wasn't ready at all. In my opinion, he wasn't ready to go onto the stand.
The judge would not allow his condition to be factored into questioning, which prosecutors argued was unfair. But the case can be retried again. But now another blow. The same day as one of his final checkups for his injuries, Claude's dad dies of a heart attack.
We used to go on bike rides together.
You did? Yeah, around here?
Around here, around Belle.
He can't quite verbalize how hard this has all been on him.
How do you feel about all that?
Kind of overwhelmed.
The family is trying to have some kind of funeral service for their dad, but money is tight. If you want to help, head to our website, fox2detroit.com. Jessica Dupnack on The Edge.
Well, a crash in Ann Arbor Township takes a strange and tragic turn.
It ends with a body found burned nearby, and now investigators are working to figure out how this could have happened. Fox News' Hillary Golston has more on this tragedy.
It was just after 3:45 Wednesday afternoon when Washtenaw County Sheriff's deputies responded to what seemed like a very routine call, a single vehicle crash. A semi-truck cab off to the side, just on the side of the road. It had apparently crashed, but it was the fire that they saw in the distance that led them to something far more disturbing. A man's body burned. He was dead. The driver, nowhere to be found, and a lot more questions than answers.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a suspicious incident.
Seen anything like this before?
Not in my career, oh man.
Nothing quite like this.
No.
It was a bizarre set of circumstances on Whitmore Lake near Duveren, which began with a semi-truck cab crashed to the side of the road.
We know that witnesses that were passing by saw the truck on the side of the road, and then they saw, flames at the top of the hill.
Deputies followed those flames, and what they discovered next turned a routine response into something far more disturbing. A man burned. Do we know at least if the body found is the driver?
We don't.
Don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
The burned body was found up the hill, about 25 or 30 yards from the crash, according to investigators. A neighbor who saw the aftermath says he's cautious on the road, mostly because of speed.
I've lived here for over 20 years, and what goes through my mind is I looked 3 times.
And as I said at the outset, of course, there are so many more questions and answers here. The identity of that man, what caused him to die. I did ask investigators if accelerant was used, and that too is under investigation. In Washtenaw County, Hillary Golston, on The Edge.
An assault on Detroit's west side leads to a standoff with police. It happened this morning on Prevost Street near Grand River. Detroit police surrounded a home after they say a homeowner was approached by multiple men with guns and pistol whipped on his front porch. An officer was already in the area, witnessed the incident, and then quickly called for backup. The suspects ran inside a home and refused to come out, but they all eventually surrendered.
4 suspects were armed when they arrived, and one of them actually had a long gun as well. I am thoroughly convinced that today this officer's actions prevented the shooting.
We're told the victim was hospitalized for non-life-threatening injuries, but it's not clear what led to this confrontation. It's being described as a brutal and senseless act of violence. A Warren man accused of killing a man by slashing his neck.
The suspect was found standing in the driveway of the home where the body was found, and now he's charged with second-degree murder. Fox 2's Lauren Edwards picks up the story.
Unfortunately, these situations shouldn't occur at all. Why this happens is, well, violence.
This quiet neighborhood in Warren was the scene of a murder last weekend.
This is isolated. You don't see people cutting each other's throats out there. When something happens like this, we got to rewind and recoil and say, what's caused this?
Macomb County Prosecutor Pete Lucido says Saturday, May 31st, police and first responders were called to a home on Leonard Avenue near Shaner. When they arrived, he says they saw 22-year-old Travis James Holberg standing in the driveway. When authorities went inside the home, they found a deceased man in his 30s with injuries on his body and a large cut across his neck.
The fact that the bunch of weapons were found as a result, the knives, and he made some admissions. All of this stuff here goes to what caused it. Was it a fight, like we had one over a taco, for Christ's sakes, in a refrigerator?
Lucido confirms that the suspect and victim knew each other. He says investigators are looking into what happened, including who called 911.
There's a lot of facts that will come out as a result, but every time you see a weapon involved, everybody says it's a mental health issue when somebody gets killed. It's interesting, is it really a mental health issue, or is it felons that are playing with weapons?
Tuesday, Holberg was arraigned and charged with second-degree murder. His preliminary hearing is scheduled for June 17th.
This is unfortunate. It's an isolated, the way I look at it, because I don't see a lot of people cutting each other's throats out there.
In Warren, Lauren Edwards, on The Edge.
No job, Court! No peace! No job, Court! No peace!
Former students of the Detroit Job Corps marching down 4th Street to spread awareness after the program was unexpectedly shut down. Last week, the federal government abruptly cut funding to the Job Corps. Fox 2 was outside the Detroit Job Corps last Friday as a few hundred students were forced back home or out into the streets. The Job Corps is the largest job training program in the U.S. for low-income youth.
I was devastated. My son is doing great there. He was really on his way. And I feel like you snatched that from him, and not only him, just all of these kids. And not only did you just snatch it, you took some of these kids' homes away.
Now, the Department of Labor in Washington cited numerous issues with the center here at home, including a $140 million deficit at the Detroit Job Corps and instances of violence and drug use. A group of Job Corps contractors have filed suit attempting to block the funding cuts.
No word yet about what's next for former University of Michigan President Santa Ono. He left his post in Ann Arbor last month to serve as president at the University of Florida. The school's Board of Trustees unanimously approved the hire, but yesterday the state's Board of Governors blocked him from taking over as president, citing his job performance at Michigan. Board members were critical of U of M's handling of pro-Palestinian protests and its support of DEI programs. One board member says the philosophical differences were too far apart.